It is October 22nd. We are looking at ways for the cables to exit the car without digging any new holes in the car. I know I just took the back seat out and dug a whole bunch of holes in the back, but they're all rough edges, and there's actually a couple of drains in the trunk here beside the spare tire, and they're just covered over with rubber grommets, so they're larger than the cable I'm going to be using. So I figure I'll just pop those out and use one for positive and one for negative. The cables that I'm temporarily using are more than long enough, so I'll support them underneath the car with some electrical conduit or some hose, just to keep them from dragging on the ground while I'm doing the preliminary testing. And I think that's gonna work really well to get the cables out of the car safely. As usual, the lighting is horrid. But here you can see from the trunk, looking through, the battery packs and how they fit across. There's a 2x4 sitting on top, and what I'm going to do is put lumber on the sides to keep them from shifting side to side, and then we're going to put some lumber at the front to keep them from shifting forward, and we're going to tie them. I'll show you. We are looking back, and you can see a couple of bolts. I'll just zoom into them a little bit. There they are. Those are the bolts that used to hold the seat belts. So those are fairly well anchored. We will be using those two bolts to ensure that the lumber on this side of the batteries is stable, and the whole battery pack won't shift forward, and that'll be good enough for testing in my driveway. So the connections at the back are going to be between the battery packs. This is where the fuses and perhaps a shunt will go. They're just going to be mounted on a piece of lumber that is facing up and is guarded with a piece of plexiglass. So here are the mounting bolts that I'm hoping to use for the controller. We'll have a little platform across here. The controller will go from front to back. The back is where the electrical connections come in, so they'll be coming up from underneath there. The front is where the connections come. I guess the battery connections are at the back. The motor connections are at the front. They'll be coming from here and just going to those two lugs over there. And then the plumbing for the heatsink is up here as well. So there's going to be a small circulation pump down at the bottom here, which is going to pump out of the radiator, come up into the controller, out of the controller, just back to the top hose on the rad here. And that simple circuit will be enough for my testing in the driveway. Essentially, the pump's going to be on whenever the car is switched on, so it'll make a little bit of noise. And we're just trying not to melt the controller. We're going to be running two different batteries in the car. They're going to be mounted here. The regular 12-volt battery for the car and the lights and signals and stuff like that. And then a smaller lithium iron phosphate battery, small one from Dakota, that is going to be just for powering the controller and the interface from the controller. So there's two contactors that it turns on. There's a little light that it turns on inside the dash, and run the wires through, as well as running the interface module, which again is going to be inside the car. And then there's a relay that the ignition is going to run, and the ignition run signal and the ignition start signal are going to send into the controller. So there's going to be another box. This is going to be full, this and this are going to be full, so the box is going to be over here somewhere, probably tied into that motor mount there. Just screwed in. It's going to be a plywood base with relays and terminals on it. And that's going to be basically what's happening up here. And then there's two cables that have to go inside. The first one is the interface module, which is an Ethernet cable, or RJ45, which is going to be going in beside that orange cable, if you can see it. right there. Beside the orange cable, which is going in through the air conditioning drain, and the other cable is for the status light from the controller, which will blink if there's a problem, or it'll be, I think, green if everything's running okay. Again, that's going to go in through here as well. If the hole isn't large enough, I will be pulling this this extension cord out. That is for running the internal heater, or the cabin heater. I probably won't be using that in the future. And then this is going to be wired into the throttle box that I got from NetGain, which is again going to be wired into the controller over there. The controller cable is about 5 or 6 feet for the throttle, so that should be fine. This is going to have to be mounted, so I'm going to have to come up with some way to connect it on the front firewall here somewhere. But I'm sure we can come up with something like that. Or we could even just screw it onto the piece of plywood that is going to be housing all the relays and interface logic.